Is the Samsung Galaxy A50 worth buying in 2021? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. Hi everyone, this is Kevin here, and this is the Samsung Galaxy A50. And now that we're in 2021, this phone is well over 1 year old. Now that being said, you still can get one, but since the phone has launched, there have been plenty of other lower mid-range to budget phones that have launched as well. But this video is meant to be more of an analysis at this point on if the Galaxy A50 is still competitive. Now there's definitely quite a few things that I like about this phone, and I will be going over those throughout this video, but one of my favorite features definitely has to be the display. Now with this phone, we're getting a 6.4-inch Super AMOLED display at 1080p. We're getting a PPI of 403, and we're getting a 19.5 by 9 aspect ratio. This phone does share many similarities with the Samsung Galaxy A20 in the sense that the form factor is very similar, and then also both phones do have a Super AMOLED display. But having a display at 1080p on this phone really does make it look even better. Now up top here, we do have a water drop notch, and in that notch is a 25 megapixel front-facing camera. We do have a little bit of a thicker bottom bezel as well, and that was pretty common to find in 2019 when this phone was launched. But as time has gone on, bezels have gotten smaller and smaller, and with many devices, especially the Samsung Galaxy A51, which is the successor to this phone, we do mostly now have hole punches for the front-facing cameras instead of water drop notches. But I don't really feel like it's a deal breaker, and in general, this is still a very nice looking handset. Now internally, with this variant of the Samsung Galaxy A50, we're getting 64 gigabytes of storage, and we're getting microSD card expansion with that. So definitely a decent amount of storage here, and if you are someone that goes on social media quite a bit, you take a lot of photos and videos, you like to download music and movies, then having that much internal space will satisfy your needs. Now in addition to that, this phone does support microSD card expansion, so that's always a nice bonus as well. But I am very thankful that we do at least have 64 gigs of internal storage. Now with this device, there is no wireless charging, but we do have an in-display fingerprint sensor. So we'll give that a try right now, and that was pretty fast. We'll try that one more time. So yeah, definitely a nice, responsive in-display fingerprint sensor. In addition to that, the Galaxy A50 does support Face Unlock too, so you do have multiple methods to get into the phone. Now on the back side of the device, we do have a triple camera setup. So there's a 25 megapixel main camera, an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, and a 5 megapixel depth sensing camera. So we do have portrait mode with both the rear and front cameras on this phone. Now internally, with the Galaxy A50, we're getting 4 gigabytes of RAM and the Samsung Exynos 9610 processor. Now I did run a benchmark test with the phone using Geekbench 5, and I'll show you the scores that I got. So I got a single core score of 348 and a multi-core score of 1273. So what I recommend doing is comparing these scores to the scores on your current phone to see if this phone would even be a performance upgrade for you. Now from my experience of using the phone, it does perform well. I mean, especially for a phone that is meant to be more of a budget-oriented device. I think that the performance is totally fine. Samsung did make a good decision though, giving it 4 gigabytes of RAM, because that does make quite a bit of a difference. Now video recording with the Samsung Galaxy A50 maxes out at 1080p with both the front and rear cameras. Here's how things look through the camera app on the device. This is with the main standard camera right now. Then from here we can switch over to the ultra wide angle camera, and you can see that we can fit quite a bit more content into the frame. We can then switch over to live focus portrait mode to get those nice blurred out backgrounds. And then from there, we can switch around to the front facing camera. And there's me. And again, we're in portrait mode right now. So we do get those nice blurred out backgrounds with the front camera too. Then switching over to the standard photo mode, we can switch over to a wider field of view to take group selfies. Now with this device, we're getting a beefy 4000 milliamp hour internal battery, which is actually the same battery capacity as the Galaxy A20. So definitely expect to get good battery life out of this phone. Now, if you do happen to buy the device used from someone else, then you probably won't get quite as good of battery life out of it because batteries do degrade as time goes on. But considering that we're already starting with a pretty large battery at 4,000 milliamp hours, you shouldn't notice degradation quite as much as you would with a phone that already started with a smaller battery. Now, the software on this phone has been updated to Android 10 since the phone launched with Android 9 Pie. And another cool thing too is that I believe Samsung mentioned recently that all A-series phones are going to be getting 2 years of major Android updates. So what that means is that with the A50, we should expect to get Android 11. Now, I don't know when that's going to happen, but eventually at some point. Now, with this particular variant of the phone, this does come with NFC, and it does support Samsung Pay. So if you are someone that is in the Samsung Pay ecosystem already, or maybe you want to be, then at least with the A50, you are able to use that feature. But now that we've gone over the major specifications of the phone, let's take a closer look at the hardware. Now, I already talked quite a bit about the front panel here. Again, a really good looking display in general. I'm a big fan of it. We do have, again, a little bit of a thicker bottom bezel and also a water drop notch at the top. But in general, at this point, I think this phone still does look nice. And there still are other companies launching phones with very similar designs to this one. So it's really not outdated at all. But taking a look at the left side of the phone, we have the slot for the micro SD card and SIM card. Then on the right side of the phone, we have the power button, volume down and volume up. Then up top here, we have the noise canceling microphone. And then on the bottom of the phone, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, USB-C port for charging and data transfer. We have the microphone and we have the speaker. Then on the back side of the phone, we have the triple camera setup in a BeanPod format. We have the flash and we have the Samsung logo. Now, you've probably noticed already that this phone does pick up quite a few fingerprints, just like really any phone that has a reflective back, so you will want to keep that in mind. But I'd imagine that most people that get this phone will likely be using it with a case. Now, here is the box that the Samsung Galaxy A50 comes in. Now, again, keep in mind that this variant of the phone is the US factory unlocked variant, so things could be slightly different based on which variant of the phone you happen to buy. But we'll open up the box and take a look and see what all we get. So the first item that we do get here is a packet. So we'll open up this packet. And again, the US variant does not come with a clear plastic case. I believe the international variant does. I might be wrong about that, so correct me if I am. But we do get a quick reference guide and we get a terms and conditions. So that's nice to have. And then from there, we have the wall adapter. So this is an adaptive fast charging wall adapter at 15 watts. We have a USB-C cable for charging and data transfer. And then finally, we have a SIM card removal tool. So we don't get a ton of stuff in the box, but we do get everything that we do need to get started. And you can see now, instead of the standard Android navigation buttons, we just have one line. Video content looks really good on the Galaxy A50. Now that is, of course, due to it having that really nice 1080p Super AMOLED display. You're going to be getting very good colors, good viewing angles. Things just look really good in general. And if you want to crop in, you also have the ability to do that as well for a very immersive experience here. Really the only downside when it comes to watching video content, and then also I guess this applies to audio as well if you're playing music, but the only speaker that's used is the bottom speaker. So on other devices, like the Moto G Power for example, you have audio that comes out of both the main speaker on the bottom, but then also the earpiece. So what that does, especially when you're watching video in this format, is that you're getting a much more immersive audio listening experience. But that being said, the speaker that we do have here on the phone is completely good, so it's not like it's bad, but there is room for improvement if they did want to give it a dual speaker setup. So again, not a deal breaker, but it is something that I would like to see Samsung implement a lot more often in their A-series phone. In fact, I'm pretty sure having audio coming out of the bottom speaker and then also the earpiece isn't even a thing on any of the A-series phones, so that is something that I would like to see implemented at some point in the future. But in conclusion, is the Samsung Galaxy A50 worth buying in 2021? Now, I definitely think this phone still is a competitive device. There are plenty of things that I still really like about it. First thing is, having this very large display is great for consuming content. And nowadays, it seems like people are using their phones more and more for consuming content, whether it's social media or video content or whatever it is, and kind of spending less and less time actually on the phone. I know that also video calls are very popular nowadays. So having that 25 megapixel front-facing camera definitely comes in handy for that. And again, viewing whoever you're talking to on this display is going to be a good experience too, due to the display being very large, but also good looking as well. And then having 64 gigs of internal storage is plenty. And I also appreciate that we are getting a triple camera setup on the back. And in general, I've been very happy with the ultra wide angle camera results from this phone. Now, the successor to this phone, which is the Samsung Galaxy A51, which I have compared to this device in other videos on my other channel, is definitely a really worthy successor. With the A51, pretty much everything about it is better than the A50. So I would recommend also looking into the A51 and seeing as well what the prices are for that phone, because if they're pretty much the same as this phone, then I would definitely go for the A51 over the A50. Really, the only situation where I would buy an A50 is if I could get a really good deal on it. And I feel like that would have to be somewhere under $200 definitely, if not below $150. Because again, since this phone launched, we've been getting tons of other devices from both Samsung and other companies as well, offering us with a slew of different benefits and cool features. So this segment, just like really any smartphone segment, is very competitive. But I don't really know of anybody that's bought the A50 and regretted it. Of course, spending a lot more money on a flagship or an upper mid-range phone is going to get you a better device that will give you a better experience. But again, keep in mind, you are going to be spending a lot of extra money. So depending on how you actually use your phone, it might not be worth it at all. And the A50 might be the phone that actually takes care of all your needs. But this is the Samsung Galaxy A50 in 2021. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it to be helpful. Let me know if you have any questions and make sure to sub to the channel. But I'll see you in the next video.